Welcome in to the midweek edition of the Locked On Packers Squad Show. I am your host. My name is Brandon Sneide. 2 straight home losses, a shaky offense, and a coach now under the microscope. The Packers need answers, and boy, do they need them fast.
I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Packers, and I'm telling you, this offense is too good to keep being this bad.
Yeah, this is Coach Jags. Listen, guys, we cannot let last week's performance affect this week's game. Can't do it.
Go Pack Go! It's the Packers Squad. Everything Green Bay Packers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from Titletown. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the frozen tundra with all the cheeseheads, the Packers Squad Show starts now.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify. You will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why, and how. As always, thanks to each and every one of you who makes Locked On Packers their first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Gentlemen, so much to get to tonight's show. We'll dive into the group chat later on. We'll discuss maybe some trust issues with this offense. We'll debate if head coach Matt LaFleur should or should not be on the hot seat, and who for this Packers offense outside of Matt LaFleur needs to step up the most. But like we always do on our midweek edition of the Squad Show, we begin with our eyes on the enemy, the New York Football Giants. A new head coach, 38-year-old interim head coach Mike Kafka, taking over the Giants brass, cutting ties with Brian Daboll earlier this week. And a new quarterback we found out this morning that the Packers will face in Jameis Winston. And Peter, I want to begin with you because I thought your tweet this morning was rather interesting, and it was only 4 letters. It was a 4-letter word. You said whelp, W-E-L-P, as it was announced. I forgot what NFL Insider reported it, that Jameis Winston would get the start. And I'm going to begin with you. My question to you is, why that reaction to that announcement from the Giants?
Well, I think part of it is you'd rather have faced Russell Wilson because we've seen that guy just does not have it anymore unless he's playing the Dallas Cowboys defense. Jameis is going to be a high variance quarterback. And like that could mean 4 interceptions. It could also mean 4 touchdown passes. Now, I think the latter is pretty unlikely, just given the guys that he has to throw to. Like the last time we saw him play good football was in Cleveland, when he gets to throw to Cedric Tillman and David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy and Kevin Stefanski's calling plays. Now you've got Mike Kafka, who I will say could be the rare, maybe the Giants upgrade by firing the head coach and installing Mike Kafka, because he was already getting head coach buzz. He was already someone that was very highly sought after.
Andy Reid stamp of approval.
Exactly right. And that makes it more difficult to prepare for, right? Like you don't know what to expect from the play caller. You never know what to expect from Jameis Winston. And so that adds a chaos element that, although Jackson Dart is a chaotic quarterback, you kind of know, like, he's a rookie and there are certain things you're going to be able to do to him. Jameis Winston, it's kind of like, it doesn't matter what you do to him. He's going to throw whatever he's going to throw. And so that it adds an element of chaos that maybe you didn't want this week when you're really trying to get off the schneid.
Yeah, and we've seen Jameis step in. If you're a Packers fan, you've seen him step in when he was down in New Orleans and beat this team and play really good. Coach, when a team changes, has big changes at the top, of the organization, and obviously outside of ownership and general manager, the Giants, as we mentioned, with a new head coach, the Giants now with a new quarterback, what does that do in a locker room going into that next week? What kind of energy does it present, either good or bad? What kind of excitement? What does it bring to a football team when they make wholesale changes like the Giants have made earlier this week?
Well, I think that the message has got to be relayed early on in the week, because it's a different message, because it's from a different coach. So I think that's going to be really important on how he sets the tone this week in the preparation. I tell you, it doesn't surprise me that they're going to put Winston in their quarterback. That doesn't surprise me. Russell, hey, Peter, he's done.
Coach.
He's done. He was done a couple years ago. But this guy, Heisman Trophy winner, and I look back, it was like in 19, he led the league in passing, I think. 19, what I read. I said, that's
Coach, you're either going to get 5 touchdowns or 5 interceptions. I don't know if you're going to get a whole lot in between, but that's the element that I think makes it exciting. If you're playing with him, you're going to get an opportunity.
Yeah. And, as far as the play calling is concerned, I mean, everybody's got their way of doing things, but the base of that offense isn't going to change. It's just not. You don't have enough time, right? When did you get fired, on Sunday or Monday? So you had like 6 days. 6 days. They're not going to change a whole lot.
Yeah, the Giants coming off of a loss against the Bears, in which they were up 14 points or 10 points. It was 10 points with less than 4 minutes, and they lost that football game. Peter, when you turn on the film, when you're looking at this Giants team, and we'll talk a little bit about the Giants offense, but I want to focus a little bit on the defense, because it's kind of an interesting defense for the Giants. They give up a lot of points, they give up a lot of yards, but Brian Burns is really, really, really good. Their front has a lot of first-round names in there. Abdul Carter, Thibodeau is in there as well. They present problems, obviously, rushing the passer. But outside of Brian Burns, the numbers just aren't there defensively for the Giants. What are you seeing when you're looking at this New York Football Giants team coming into this week for the Packers?
I see really good evidence that pass rush is just not enough, because this secondary is stinky. I mean, it's just not good at all. And we saw last week, Deonte Banks, and you turn on the tape, you look at any grades, you look at any charting, you can make the case he's the worst starting cornerback in the NFL. Like, you think the Packers have cornerback problems? Deonte Banks is a former first-round pick. We are talking about the bust of busts right now. And the only reason he's still starting is because, guys, they don't have any better options. Like, that's how bad this secondary is. And when you do prioritize pass rushers, Ryan Burns, undersized edge player. Kayvon Thibodeau, undersized edge player. Abdul Carter, undersized edge player. Well, what do you do against undersized defensive linemen, coach? You run the ball down their throat, and that's what teams have been doing. This is I think the worst run defense they'll have played all year.
That's correct.
If you can't run against light boxes, if they're going to play light boxes and try and put a shell on everything, if you can't run against this team, coach, you can't run against anybody.
It'll be interesting to see what they do if they go with a single high, or if they're getting the ball rammed down their throat. They got to bring a safety down and get to an 8-man front. I mean, I don't anticipate them playing a lot of too high, because if they do, I mean, Jacob should have a field day.
Well, let's
hope.
Like
I said, they are 32nd adjusting for schedule.
Yeah.
Against the run.
No idea what that means. But
coach, how many teams are in the NFL?
32.
So 32 is pretty bad.
We'll go with that. I know they allow just a tick under 25 points per game. They allow the second worst, the most yards in the game. Coach, when you're looking at this Giants defense, and obviously Peter touched on it, a really bad run defense, is this a game where you're kind of going into it, and I don't want to call it a get-right game because I feel like we use that term a little bit with Carolina, but is this a game, coach, where you're going in, you're looking at that Giants defense, as Peter just mentioned, they can't stop the run. They're not great really at anything outside of Brian Burns creating havoc from the edge rusher position. Are you looking at this, and if you're head coach Matt LaFleur, are you looking at this and being like, okay, this is the week, this has to be the Josh Jacobs focal point for this Packers? We got to get him going in this game, because if we can get Josh Jacobs going, then we can get Jordan Love going.
Are we going to run it on first down, Peter? Is that what you want to do? All right. He about fell out of his chair.
If you ask Peter we'll a little early look at the group chat. He wants to run it on first and second down, coach. Then he wants to throw it on third down.
And then throw it on third down. But
I want you to run, and then pass every drive, please. That would be my favorite thing.
Yeah. So I think this is a get right game. But here's the thing, guys. Who did the Giants beat?
They beat the Eagles. And they beat them by 3 scores.
They beat the brakes off the Eagles the first time they played. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, guys. It's like every week. I mean, you can get beat by anybody. Anybody can win in every week. So, but I think this is, a change of coach. There's some turmoil in the building. I think this is a good opportunity for Green Bay to get right on offense. I really, really do. And if we should be able to run the ball, and we should be able to, what you just said about the personnel that they've got. And then I would go ahead and take whoever my best receiver is right now and put him on that corner and just and wear them out.
Coach, let me have some fun with you, because you and I, Peter, before you got on, he was talking about some interviews he's done in the past for coaching, and he said he hated it when a coach would, or somebody would interview him and ask him to evaluate his personnel. So I'm going to have Coach evaluate the Packers personnel real quick. Coach, you're in front of the offense this week.
Yeah.
I'm putting you in charge. Goody's a good friend of mine. He's a big listener of the program. He texted me and he said, "Coach, see what coach's thoughts are this week." So I'm going to do him a solid. You're in charge of the Packers offense, and given those, deficiencies up front, Elton Jenkins, by the way, done mostly for the season, that fractured leg. So they'll have Sean Ryan at center for the Packers. We know there's no Tucker Kraft. Given the deficiencies up front, Coach, with the run blocking, with the pass blocking, what would you do differently with this Packers offense to get them trending in the right direction?
Well, I mentioned this last week. What I would do is get a little bit more of an up tempo, just to so Lafleur, he's the one managing it. Then getting them up on the ball, get that ball snapped as fast as you can, and then you don't have to stay in it for like a whole quarter. But if it's successful, I would. But I think that's something I need to do, is get a jump start on this offense, because it just something's not in gear right now. It just feels like the clutch is slipping, and and then it gets into gear and then it's not. So I think if they could get a no huddle or an up tempo.
Sounds like my car in high school, Coach.
Huh?
Sounds like my car in high school.
Yeah. What was it? A Gremlin?
No, it was like a 1985 Toyota Corolla wagon with a stick shift.
But you got a lot of girls wanting to date.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he's the starting quarterback, Coach. Like, come on.
That's true. That's true.
There's some pull with that.
But
speaking of quarterbacks, go ahead, Coach. Sorry.
Well, but anyway, so and in the offensive line, it looks like our matchup is pretty good, and I know that the whole season so far, early in the season, there was a bunch of different lineups. It looks like there's going to be a bunch of different lineups now.
Yeah.
But that one position that needs to stay consistent now is at that center spot, and I don't know who would be the next guy. Like, say something happened to him, who would be the next guy to go to center?
Well, they just signed Lessida Smith, so off the practice squad. So I think that's going to be your backup center, because Jacob Monk's, I guess, not ready.
Yeah. Well, that's what I do. And the thing is, we've got some holes, and I've mentioned this a couple of times. I think that tight end Kraft was such a big part of the offense. Like I said, he was on getting on line to get the 1,000 yards receiving as a tight end, and that's so they're missing him. That piece is missing, but other guys have to step up.
Peter, how concerning? Coach had kind of mentioned the up tempo, getting guys to step up. How concerning is it that Jordan Love hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in back-to-back weeks?
Well, so look, people get annoyed when I talk about stuff like regression and the analytics and all that stuff. Would it interest you to know that Jordan Love has not thrown a touchdown pass longer than 20 yards all year?
It wouldn't surprise me. I know one was taken away, the Jaden Reed broken collarbone play that sticks out.
This is weird. He and Jared Goff are the only preferred starters for whom that is true. Given how much early on the season, especially, they threw the ball down the field, that seems impossible to me. But I think those are the kinds of things that tell me that they're just like, I know it's the gambler's fallacy, right? You lose 5 straight hands and you go, I'm due. But this team they're playing really well 20-20. It's in the red zone when they get the mistakes or they get into plus territory. Like, they got into plus territory. I think they had 7 possessions where they got past the 40-yard line. So it's like they're getting into plus territory. They're getting in position to score. They just can't quite finish the deal. Jordan Love has the fumble. You have the penalty that, by the way, I saw it on the squad show on Sunday, was against Romeo Doubs. I think they called it on Romeo Doubs, but it was on Bo Melton. He was the one on the stack side, on the 2 receiver side, who didn't line up correctly. So sorry, Romeo, for getting that wrong. But like, it's just those sorts of little details. And I have to believe that if in 2023, with all rookies and second-year guys, that they were able to get their act together, that at some point they're going to get their act together. And when they do, they're going to score in bunches. And I think it's coming. Look, I've been predicting it since I've been predicting the Matthew.
We all have.
I've been predicting the Matthew Golden breakout game since week 4. But he was hurt, in fairness to me. And so I just feel like this team is too good to be this bad. And I have to continue to believe that they're top 10 in, like, coach, every category you care about, they're still top 10 in, except winning the game. And I feel like, the offense is going to get this figured out, even in like weird situations. Like the last 2 seasons, they've been so much better than this. They didn't just forget how to play football. There's too much talent on this team to stay in these lulls. I've equated it to, and we were talking about basketball because as we're recording this, the Bucks are getting their doors blown off by the Charlotte Hornets. And it's like a good offensive team. Sometimes the ball sticks. Sometimes you take some bad shots, and for a couple games, you just can't get anything to fall. And that's kind of how I feel with this team right now. They're not playing to their identity. The ball is sticking a little too much. They're taking some bad jump shots, and eventually they're going to play to their identity, which Brandon keeps reminding us they don't really have right now. And that's because the shot plays haven't been there, Brandon. This is a team that hunts explosives, that stopped throwing the ball down the field. And that's the problem they have to fix right now.
I think it's important too, Coach. I'll let you get in on here. Just to kind of feed off of Peter's point real quick. I think this week, Peter, I don't know where Matthew Golden is. The Packers on Wednesday, because they played Monday
on Wednesday.
They did. It was a walkthrough. So he did technically. So we'll see. LaFleur, he was pushing to play against the Eagles. But I think regardless if he plays or not, Coach and Peter, I think it's evident that after Monday, and from what we've seen, you've got to, right now, given the injuries, you've got to feed the offense through Christian Watson. I think he's your best receiver. He's your best target. Bo Melton had more targets than him on Monday night. I understand there was some injuries, and that forced Melton into the spot. He also, Christian Watson, for whatever reason, wasn't on the field on that 4th and 9 play that Bo Melton dropped. So that's another question I have. But
Coach, sorry to interrupt, but I want to piggyback on this because I want to ask Jags about this. So Watson, one of the reasons why I feel like he's not getting the targets is because he is, I think, for my money, one of the best in the NFL at creating space with his vertical speed. He is so many of their concepts are, let's take a through route, a big over route, a post route, and let's use that to create space in the middle of the field. Let's run dagger so we can get that big over and that dig in behind. At some point, do you just have to say, we just have to put someone else in that spot, even if he doesn't have the same sort of gravity, just so that we can get Christian Watson opportunities here? Because he's so valuable doing that thing. But then it's like, okay, well, if you're going to create spacing, to use the basketball analogy again, it's great to have spacing, but if you don't have anybody to get to the rim, that spacing is kind of useless.
Yeah. As far as him not being like a clear route, let him be the dagger route runner. Let somebody else.
Well, I just mean like if you have this guy that is able to create space for everybody because he wins over the top. Right. At what point do you go, we think he's too good to just be a decoy? We need him to do this other thing. Like, how do you ride that line?
Well, I think here's another thing too, is about getting the ball down the field. You have on your call sheet too, you have like have to do's, right? Yeah. And I think they need to just, by design, take a shot. At least it's one shot a quarter. So that's 4. And let's just say that you're 25%. That's a big play, right? But they have to start taking shots down the field, and really they haven't. And that's super surprising what you said. If they've only had a 20-yard pass touchdown. Yeah, that's amazing. We're 9 games in. That's just amazing. I would have never thought that.
It's almost impossible. Like someone's going to slip and you're going to fall into a 20-yard touchdown at some point.
Right. Right.
And to be fair, they had one wiped away. They did have one with Jaden Reed. It was an absolute bucket by Jordan Love. And speaking of Jordan Love, QB1 speaking at his locker room by his locker in the locker room after practice. Let's hear. This is quarterback Jordan Love today.
I just want the pressure to be on you and be able to get the team out of funks. But at the end of the day, there's 11 players on the field for a reason. We gotta trust everybody on the field. And players got to make plays when the ball comes your way, and can't be out there trying to play Superman ball and kind of do too much at times. But you just got to trust the process and take one play at a time. But I love having the ball in my hands at all times, and I love that pressure.
He used the word trust there, and spoiler alert, we're going to get to that in the third segment of the program this evening. But Peter, I can't help but think, and I hate doing this, but I go back to that 2023 season. And I know Aaron Jones isn't on this roster, but the Packers were really, really bad in that stretch of October. They didn't win a game in October in that month. What can Matt LaFleur take from that season and incorporate it into this season? Because it feels like there's a little bit of a comparison, right? The offense is struggling to put up points. The defense is keeping them in games, and the offense just can't get going. But something clicked, and you go back to that Thanksgiving game, and I know they had a letdown with Tommy DeVito against the Giants the next week, but it's something clicked in 2023 with LaFleur and Love. Can they learn from that going into this week?
You know, that part is really interesting because I for whatever reason, it is just seared into my brain. I vividly remember the first play of that game on Thanksgiving that they come out, they take the ball. Remember that whole that start to the season, they were deferring the whole season. And I'm like, can you just one time take the ball and say, we're going to do this. We're going to dictate terms here. And they took the ball, and on the first play, they throw a shot play to Christian Watson that Love slightly underthrows. Watson goes up and makes the grab in traffic, and it just set the tone for the rest of that run. And I'm waiting for that version of this team. And part of that was Aaron Jones was hurt, and they didn't have anything in the run game. Like A.J. Dillon, it was clear at that point that he just was not explosive enough for you to really rely on him in any way. And I think Matt LaFleur almost has too much trust in Josh Jacobs right now to be like the fallback option here. It was almost by necessity that they went that way. And I feel like they need to feel desperate enough to get to that point. And there's the famous quote, I think it might be a Springsteen quote. You can't tell my genius from my desperation. And I'm a parody of myself as a sports writer, quoting Bruce Springsteen. I'm too young for that, but we'll do it anyway. But like I feel like that's where this team is. They have to play desperate. Like they can't let the pressure get to them. They have to play desperate rather than feeling like the weight of the world is on our shoulders. We can't not lose these games. It's F it. Let's just go play and let's just let it hang out. And that's what I'm waiting for, because Jordan Love is that kind of player, Brandon. He's that kind of personality. Like we have Dominic Daphne on the show on Friday on Locked On Packers, and I can't wait for you guys to hear that conversation. A lot of good stuff to say about Aaron Rodgers, but he was talking about Jordan Love, and he was like, guys, we knew right away. Like the players knew for whatever, like maybe the media didn't know. Maybe that says more about the beat writers than it does Jordan Love. But he was like, we knew right away that this guy was a dog. And like the players on the team know. And I think that's why Matt LaFleur's got to play a little desperate, because the side eyes are going to start, coach. The players know if the coach is not putting you in the best positions, or you feel like that's happening, you got to start to notice like, hey, we got to try some stuff. We got to get a little crazy here if we want to do this. Yeah.
You know, one of the things I think that, because the play caller, the head coach, the quarterback, that's a real intimate deal. I mean, it really is. And I tell you what I would do is I would go to Love. I'd say, hey, what do you like?
Love it.
What do you like? Tell me what you're really, really comfortable with, and we'll build that game plan around that. And if he feels like he's got ownership in it, then he's really invested. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, but I think that conversation, I'm sure it probably already has been made, but I was like, Jordan, tell me what you like. What do you really, really feel comfortable with? Because I want to put you in the best position to succeed. Because he's the only one that really he's got to succeed, right, for this thing to get going. But I would definitely have that conversation with him for sure. I can't hear him at all. Yeah.
Thank you guys for making Locked On Packers your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. It helps when the microphone is turned on.
That was for the hearing impaired.
There you go. The Packers offense, guys, it struggled. Jordan Love's been inconsistent. We talked about it a little bit. Some fans are now even questioning head coach Matt LaFleur and his job security. And folks around and in the NFL, working in the NFL, have called that idea stupid, idiotic, dumb. Yeah. With that being said, Peter, I'm going to ask you point blank, in your opinion, is Matt LaFleur actually on the hot seat?
Not yet, but the trajectory is not good. I'll tell you that. And it's one of those things where you guys know when you make bacon and you're like, it's never going to be done. And then all of a sudden it's like, if you don't take it off the pan right now, it's burned. that's this week for the Packers and Matt LaFleur. Because I think the seed is like the pan's on, but the bacon's just sort of sitting in there sweating. But if they lose to the Giants and a backup quarterback and an interim head coach, all of a sudden you better get that pan off the heat or it's going to burn, and that bacon is going to burn because Matt LaFleur's seat is going to be white hot after that. So the trajectory is not great, but I think the conversation is telling when you've got like troll Bears media going, God, I hope they fire Matt LaFleur, because everyone knows he's a good coach. Like the Titans fans, the Titans fans in my life and our Locked On Titans host Tyler Rowland is like, we'll trade you. We'll give you picks. Like, come take. We'll take Matt LaFleur, please. You have to remember that if you're going to give up Matt LaFleur, this is not like dating where you're like, well, I can't break up with the person I'm seeing because I'm never gonna find someone as good as them. The coaching is not like that. Like, there's only so many good candidates that exist in the world. You have a really good one. I think he deserves patience and time to figure this out. We've seen him do it. Like, we aren't that far removed, Coach, from Malik Willis winning games because Matt LaFleur put together a bespoke offensive performance that there might be 3 other coaches in the league that could have done what Matt LaFleur did with Malik Willis.
Yep.
And so I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt to work through this, because I don't think it's like he doesn't know how to call plays. No, we've seen it. We know he does. He's got to work through something right now. And I think part of it is he wants Jordan Love to limit mistakes. Well, Jordan Love wants to play like he's limiting mistakes. So that's not really how Jordan Love plays. Jordan Love is let's just play. Let's just go. He's got that Favre in him, Coach. Like you know what that looks like. So you kind of let the stallion run a little bit, and they have to find that Goldilocks zone. I loved your proposal. What does Jordan want? What do you want to see more of? What do we want to call more of? What do you feel comfortable? Because, you've got the play that you and I talked about, Coach, on the phone the other day. It was the first play of the game, I think, Brandon, it was the corner to Dobbs that he didn't throw.
Yeah.
And so you've got the snag route and you've got the corner route. Well, you can throw the underneath route, but that's maybe number one, maybe not the progression. We don't know for sure, though, as Coach has told me, that generally speaking is the number one on that play. But if you're going to throw the underneath route, as I had a former quarterback in the NFL explain to me earlier today, that's just playing scared. And so if what are the calls where you feel like you can be aggressive? Okay, you want, like, let's get that corner out. But is there a formation? Is there a personnel grouping? Is there a situation where you feel comfortable in that situation? I would assume, Coach, that when you put together the script, that's what you're doing. But what's weird is this has been one of the worst scripted offenses in the NFL this year. Like, they've just not been good on script, and we are not used to seeing that from Matt LaFleur.
Yeah. I don't think he's on the hot seat, guys. I mean, I think he's a really good football coach. Yeah. I really do. But that's the Packer job, though. I mean, you're expected to win every game. And the thing that always got me is like, you didn't win good enough, which I just always thought was ridiculous. And then if you won, it was a relief rather than like, good job, right? It was kind of a relief. We got to go do it again next week. But that's that job, right? It's a high profile job. But I think he's a good play caller. I do, but I think they just got to get it. They got to get it going. And like on that route, right? I sent you the picture, Peter. That is an alert. That's the first thing. If you have like a corner squatted down, cover 2, that's the hole. But he missed a couple of them. But like I said, but getting back to the Matt LaFleur, I think he's a good football coach. You don't win. He's at 70%.
Yeah.
70. I mean, guys, there's a lot of coaches around or owners around the league go, God, I wish we had that guy. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I don't think unless you completely tank this thing, which that's not going to happen. The defense is just too good.
Bears fans would love for Ben Johnson to be 90% as good as Matt LaFleur. Like and maybe he is, but we don't know that yet. And so, like, that's the other thing. Jalen Hurts, guys, I don't know if you saw this. Jalen Hurts said today, the Packers have the best defense they've faced.
Yep, I saw that.
They played the Broncos, who have like a consensus top 5 group. They have the Rams, who statistically are the best defense in the NFL. They played that team. They played Brian Flores, who's a freaking madman. They played Todd Bowles, who's a madman. And he said the Packers have the best defense in the NFL. So we're a half an hour into the show, And I think we were right to spend the first half an hour on the offense. But just like after the game, I think it's important that we point out the defense is going to give this team an opportunity to figure the offense out, because they're not going to give up 30 points to almost anybody short of, Dak Prescott seeing God for a half an hour. And so like, I think that this team, again, to Coach's point, I think this team is going to be fine. And now that doesn't absolve Matt LaFleur. Like if they win a bunch of 17-13 games, no one's going to say, hey, that was Matt LaFleur. What a great job. But you're winning games. So that's all that ultimately matters. If you win the Super Bowl 17-13, guess what? You get to put the Lombardi trophy at 1265 Lombardi Avenue, which is where it belongs.
Well, and I think you mentioned the defense, Peter, and this is just my take on it. I think part of the success from the defense is highlighting the deficiencies on offense, and it's making people totally even more upset. Xavier McKinney was by his locker after practice today saying that, he still believes this team can win a Super Bowl. And I agree because of the defense, because what we saw them do and what we have seen them do again, they have 3 losses, you guys, and they've kept all 3 of those losses, the opposing team, under 17 points. It hasn't been done since 1940 when the Lions did it. Like this is I don't want to say, I hate using the term generational, but because it's just overused in sports. But for the Packers, this has been the best defense we've seen in quite some time. And I think that's the issue that Packer fans have with Matt LaFleur. It's because, man, you Brian Gutekunst going out and acquiring Micah Parsons. You got high picks in the defense. Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, we talked about. You go out and spend money with Xavier McKinney. We mentioned him. And then they make changes, right? We've seen Nate Hobbs just not work out, and you can blame injury. I think he was benched before the injury anyway. And Carrington Valentine comes in and completely, nullifies A.J. Brown, although maybe part of that was A.J. Brown nullifying himself in that game as well. But like they went out and performed and have made changes and have adapted to what other teams are doing. And we're not seeing that with Matt LaFleur. We're not seeing the creativity, Peter. We mentioned it after the show on Monday. Like the stuff that he drew up with Malik Willis in 2020, it was last year, 2024, was one of his best coaching jobs, right? Then you go back to 2023, going on that run that we talked about in the first segment, going on that run and feeding the beast and going in and calling the plays that felt comfortable with Jordan Love and made Jordan Love confident in the pocket and the team around him. We're not seeing that this year out of head coach Matt LaFleur, and that's where a lot of the frustration comes. Do I think he's on the proverbial hot seat? No, I don't think he is. It is worth noting that Ed Policy hasn't renewed his contract. He also hasn't renewed general manager Brian Gutekunst as well. But if you had to draw a line in the sand, Peter, if the Packers don't achieve this or get past this, then Matt LaFleur's got to go. Is there a line you're willing to draw in the sand for this team?
I don't think so. Not this year. I mean, if they lose out, yeah, sure.
It is also worth noting, in LaFleur's defense, they are dealing with a lot of injuries. Every team deals with them, but you can make the argument Tucker Kraft has been the best offensive weapon outside of Jonathan Taylor in the NFL this year.
Yeah. Let me just, you mentioned that 1940 stat, which I love. The Packers are also averaging the lowest points per game given up in losses since the 2000 Ravens.
That's pretty good. That was a good team.
The best modern defense probably the best defense I've seen since I've been alive.
Pretty good.
Jags was there for 85. I just missed out on 85. But so I don't think there is, but I will say if they go to the playoffs, let's say, and lose in the first round again, I think that there will be Ed Policy going, let's see it one more year. Like, I don't think there will be that, because what happened last time, guys, and I think we need to mention this again because somehow it gets lost every time. In 2021, but the year 2022, Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst were going into the final years of their contract. They had just had back-to-back heartbreaking playoff losses at home in the NFC Championship to Tom Brady and the Bucs in a year where you had the best team, you should have won. In 2021, they absolutely the bed against the 49ers at home in the divisional round because the special teams just cannot do anything remotely competent. They got extended off of that. Like, that was the scenario. They got extended off of that. And so I know that was Mark Murphy, not Ed Policy, but this is what the Packers do. And so if there's another disappointing loss, if it's a divisional round, especially if they host, let's say they win the division, they're the 3 seed and they lose at home to the Seahawks. Okay, now I think you'll see Ed Policy say, you're going to go into the last year of your deal and you're going to prove it. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, Brian Gutekunst, here's an extension. You built the team that's good enough, because by the way, he did. If you ask me which guy right now today deserved an extension more, I would tell you the answer is Brian Gutekunst. But that's not because I don't think Matt LaFleur is really good at his job. I do. I just think in a year where you wanted to win the Super Bowl, Brian Gutekunst did the thing that is getting you closer to win the Super Bowl. Of the two of them, the guy who is not helping as much is Matt LaFleur. That being said, he can get there. Like, we know he's good enough to do that. We just got to see it. Like, let's see it, Matt. Show us. I am willing to be patient here, but only to a point. Like, I'm willing to be patient here November 12th as we record this. January 12th, I might feel something different.
You know, one of the things I wanted to, you guys were talking about Malik, right? And how his game plans. You don't think that he went to Malik, goes, what can you do best? What do you want? He had to have, guys. I mean, he had to have.
No, of course.
And that's why I think, you know, and I would imagine they had that conversation. But if he put that together with Malik and winning games, he knows how to coach. But have your quarterback, have a talk with him. Go, what do you feel comfortable with? And we'll build it around that.
Coach, I think that's a great point. I think that's why why so many fans are frustrated, because we've seen it. We've seen LaFleur coach this team. We've seen him elevate. You can say whatever you want about Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers wasn't winning MVPs in those final years with Big Mike. He won 2 MVPs under Matt LaFleur. And you can say, oh, he only won them out of spite because the team drafted Jordan Love. Like, I would say you're incorrect. And Matt LaFleur had a big part of Aaron Rodgers winning those MVPs. And again, going to the divisional round in 2023 with a first-year starter. And the Packers never had to get to that rebuilding phase. Like, and give credit to Brian Gutekunst, also give credit to head coach Matt LaFleur. Like, they were a seamless transition into a successful team and a team that went into the playoffs in that first year without Aaron Rodgers. Real quickly, as we wrap up segment number 2, Coach, I'll start with you. Outside of Matt LaFleur, we did a lot of talking about head coach Matt LaFleur. On this Packers offense, who needs to step up the most? And now you don't have Elton Jenkins. You still without Jaden Reed. Hopefully you get Jaden Reed sooner rather than later. And obviously you're not going to have Tucker Kraft for this year. Who, in your opinion, needs to step up the most for this Packers offense?
I think the whole offensive line has to step up. They have to. I mean, he felt that rush this past week. Now it was they were getting a major push up front against that. And I think the O-line's got the one that has to step up, because it always starts with all those guys. And if they're not playing well, you're not going
to your point, he was pressured at 42% of his dropbacks against the Eagles, and they got a great front seven. But you're right, Coach.
He felt that, though. I mean, you could see it getting into his lap. And
I don't want to say he was seeing ghosts, but there were some times where you're just sort of like, yeah, this is not like he's bailing. He bailed like I would say 2 or 3 pockets where you go against a different team or in a different year, he would have made the throw there. Like he would have done something else than he did. And I think there's no question it's affecting him right now.
Yeah.
Peter,
they need to step up though.
Peter, he's got the offensive line. I'm gonna give you a minute here, Peter, because I want to touch on who I think needs to step up the most, and probably not a very popular one. And I don't really have any numbers or stats that can back this up. I'm going off of vibes and feel. To me, and Coach, you mentioned the offensive line. This plays a part of it. For me, it's Josh Jacobs. And he hasn't had a ton of room to run. I understand that. But when he has had that room to run, it seems indecisive this season with Josh Jacobs. And I love Josh Jacobs. And again, maybe I'm taking this wrong. Maybe I'm incorrect with this take, but this is just going off of vibes and feel. And the pass protection from Josh Jacobs was not great either in that game against the Philadelphia Eagles. And that would be another thing that plays into the offensive line, but also another thing that plays into helping Jordan Love. And I don't know what Josh Jacobs was doing on that screen pass late in the fourth quarter, before the fumble, before the 4th and 1.
Perfect play called.
Perfect play. He goes out, moves to his left, turns to his right. I don't know. He would have easily probably put the Packers in scoring position with just the catch and run that would have ensued after making that completion. But for me, it's Josh Jacobs. Like, I just need I need to see a little bit better. I know the offensive line hasn't been great. I just need to see a little bit better out of number 8. I think we'll get that going in against the one of the worst run defenses in the NFL against the New York Giants. Peter, who you got? Who needs to step up the most this week for the Packers for this offense?
I liked that they got Dontavian Wicks back involved in this offense. And when you look at the end of the 2023 season, when this offense was cooking, and Jason Hirschhorn over at The Leap, my buddy, wrote a great piece about this when he talked about the way that Matt LaFleur reoriented the offense late in the season. It was Wicks who was running. We talked about Dagger. He was the guy running the money routes. And Matt LaFleur will tell you, and any coach will tell you, who they believe in by who they give the money routes to, right, Coach?
Sure.
We're going to run our core stuff. Who's running the route on the core stuff? And by the end of the season, it was Dontavian Wicks. And his ability to get open one-on-one. Yeah, there are some inconsistencies catching the ball. But I just feel like teams are going to play man coverage against this team, give him one-on-one opportunities. He was the guy that was supposed to break out last year and couldn't catch the ball.
Yep.
This year, he wants it. He wants to prove he can still do it. And it was that Eagles game in the playoffs. The only healthy receiver they had left was Dontavian Wicks. I think he's the guy to me because they're going to have to keep using Christian Watson as the clear out guy. So, okay, who's going to run that dig in behind? Who's going to run the big over on Yankee? Like, you have to be able to get him opportunities because he can be that difference maker, that intermediate route runner. Jordan Love I think he has a passer rating over 120 on intermediate throws, but they just don't throw it. He's the guy that can make the difference there.
Each week, we bring you closer than ever to the Locked On Packers Squad Show, and we share what we are discussing in our group chat. We share those details right after this. Today's Locked On Packers Squad Show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA season is officially back, and there's no better place to get down in the action other than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game even more exciting, especially when your team's making that late-game push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's right, $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. That's FanDuel.com. Each week, we love to bring you into our group chat, give you the insights, give you the insight into what we are discussing around our favorite football team. And this week, Peter, we discussed, we're going to continue the Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love conversation because we had discussed that it seems to be a trust issue with Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love. I said in the group chat that this offense feels like the head coach doesn't believe right now in the quarterback. It feels like the quarterback doesn't believe in the offensive line, and it doesn't believe like anybody on the offense believes in really anybody going forward. I know you have spoken to people in and around the league during the week for your show. What has been your takeaway from all the noise the last couple of weeks when it comes to, I guess, I don't want to say trust issues, but it feels like there's some kind of trust issue bubbling on the surface for this football team?
Yeah, and maybe trust is the wrong word.
Confidence.
I think maybe confidence isn't even the right word. I think it is belief.
There you go.
It's like, okay, maybe it is trust. It's hard for me to really understand it. I think everyone is trying to figure out how to walk the line of wanting to play a certain way. Let's limit the mistakes while still trying to keep that aggressiveness. And I don't think Jordan Love is playing with the same confidence in himself, belief in himself. He trusts himself, but he wants to be, I don't think he's a pleaser, but I think he wants to do what the offense requires him to do. I think he's the kind of quarterback that's going to say, I'm not going to try and make, even though at times it seems like he's trying to make hero plays. I don't think he's going to go up and go, okay, well, I'm supposed to read this 1-2, but I really want to throw the backside dig. And he's just going to do it. Like, he's not that kind of quarterback. He wants to play the play, but the play has to give him something that he feels confident in. And so there is this push-pull right now of LaFleur wanting to give him the things that he's comfortable with, and Love saying, I'm comfortable in these moments with the bullets flying and the offensive line a mess, making those plays. So I think really all it's going to take for this team is, and I thought the jumping off point could have been the Steelers game. For whatever reason, that wasn't enough for Matt LaFleur, and I don't know why. That's the thing that is weird to me, because Jordan Love was dealing in that game. And then they come out and they play wildly conservative again. And they take a couple of shots against the Panthers, and I understand one gets picked off. Like, you got to just keep firing. And last year they did. They just kept firing, and Love threw some interceptions. I think LaFleur has to live with some of that. And you just have to kind of live with the variance here, because he's going to give you so much good stuff. Like the final numbers are going to look, at least from a passing standpoint, more like Josh Allen than Aaron Rodgers. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, if he throws 10 or 12 interceptions, but throws 30 touchdown passes, fine. I don't need 25-6. I would much rather have 32 and 12 or 14 than 25-6 personally. And I think this offense needs that right now.
Coach, you kind of talked about meetings and Love in the quarterback, or Love or the quarterback and the coach getting together and seeing what you like. Have you been a part of these meetings with the coach and a quarterback or a player? And if you have, what have those been like? What have you seen after those meetings? What has sparked positively after that meeting? Have you been able to see guys go out and take from what was said in that meeting and actually apply it to a game plan, apply it to on the field, and just kind of talk a little bit about those experiences you have had?
Yeah, I always thought, like, the communication, again, with the quarterback and the head coach, just like with Favre, he always goes, what don't you like? He goes, well, I don't, and I thought he really liked it. He goes, I don't like that at all. I said, all right, we'll take the damn thing out then. But those meetings, they always were pretty positive. Now they weren't a negative. There wasn't a negative tone in those at all, because everybody's trying to do the same thing. Everybody wants to win, and everybody wants to be productive. I don't think there's a guy in that offensive meeting room that's going like, I don't believe that's happening. But they have to start producing, and you have to have some shot plays to get the ball down the field. That 20-yard TD, Peter, just blows me away. That's all they've gotten. That's amazing. I would have never thought that.
Do you think he's also meeting outside of Jordan Love? He's meeting with other players on that offense, and maybe they're meeting together. Obviously, they have offensive meetings, but is he going to Josh Jacobs, who's scoring a lot of touchdowns? Like, he's second in the NFL in touchdowns. He's only behind who's a guy that's in the conversation for the MVP, and former Badger Jonathan Taylor. So, like, he's getting into the end zone, but he's not getting the yardage. Like, his yards per game and his overall yardage per carries are down. Do you think he's also going to those guys as well and meeting with, I don't know if they're receivers. Romeo Dobbs, I guess, is the most veteran. Christian Watson's in that class as well. Is he going to Josh Jacobs and also having that same meeting with Josh?
I don't think individually, like with the running back, I don't think that's happening. But I'm sure that he does all the installations for the offense. I don't know, maybe the coordinator does, probably not, but he could. But they're in front of that team every single day, and they know. Everybody knows, and everybody knows their job too. Everybody's like got a job to do, and that's not what's happening. We may have 10 guys doing it and one guy not getting it done, right? We just got to get everybody on the same page and producing at a really high level every play.
Coach, you've been a part of some really good offenses. You've been a part of some maybe in the middle, and maybe you've been a part of some not so good offenses. Right now, in back-to-back weeks, the Packers have not scored over 14 points. First time that's happened since 2017.
Crazy.
If they don't score more than 14 against the Giants, not only is that going to raise a ton of red flags and maybe get a seat warmer in Green Bay, but it will also be the first time that has happened in 3 consecutive weeks since 1999. Not a good year to be a Packers fan. What are those meetings like in those moments of searching for answers, of frustration, of we got to get our butts going? What are those meetings like? I'm always curious when we say team meetings, when we say offensive meetings, like what is being discussed in those meetings?
Those guys are getting challenged. Believe me, they are. And
so are they pulling up film and they're like, okay, Christian, I see you're running this dig route. It needs to be, you're running it at 9 yards. It needs to be 8 yards or what like detail, what is being talked about? What are they being challenged on?
Well, you know what? You get what you stress. You're going to get what you stress. And if the details aren't there, that needs to be stressed. I mean, what the lining up offside or lining up covering guys, that was ridiculous. That's just, we talked about that before. But those guys know. Those guys know, and it just needs to be emphasized. You get what you emphasize. You always do.
And to defend Bo Melton, because I think we think it was on him, Peter, and I think you're right.
Yeah.
He's been playing cornerback since June. So, like, we also don't know how much time he's played at the receiver, and had a couple of injuries. Romeo Doubs goes down. It looks like Romeo Doubs will be okay for this week, but, like, it also kind of threw him into the fire in that week. So I don't want to.
The other thing is, like, if you feel confident in your receiver room enough to move Bo Melton, who, by the way, like, I always go back to this. They ran a trick play for Bo Melton in the playoffs against the 49ers, and it worked. The first receiver in 2023 to have 100 yards for the Packers in Love's first year as a starter was Bo Melton.
Yeah.
So if you're confident enough in your receiver room, without Christian Watson, by the way, in training camp, to move him to corner, why is Savion Williams not playing? Like, in a week where you don't have your guys, where Jaden Reed is hurt and Matthew Golden's not up, why is Savion Williams not a real part of this offense in any meaningful way? Like, if the whole point of moving Bo Melton was, hey, we got enough guys, then Savion Williams has to be the next guy up. I think Matt LaFleur, it's like he almost trusts his players a little too much at times to manage all of this stuff. Jags, we talked about the offensive line shuffling. Like, we haven't talked about this since training camp. In retrospect, isn't it absolutely bat crap crazy that Jordan Morgan played left tackle in training camp and is the starting right guard? As someone who had never started more than 5 games in his NFL career, he comes in and he's going to play in the season a position he was rotating, but he was playing preseason snaps at left tackle. They were letting him, quote unquote, compete at left tackle, even though Brian Gutekunst said, well, it'll take a lot for him to take that job. Then what is he doing there? Put him at right guard, let him get the reps during installs and get all that time on task that he needs as a young player. They sometimes, I feel like they overload these guys and expect them to be ready with all this stuff. Like, if Bo Melton's in the corner room, then he can't be a receiver. He's a corner now. Let him play corner. Like, it would be crazy if they were like, oh, well, we lost. Like, imagine if Carrington Valentine goes down this week and Nate Hobbs is still not ready to go, and they're just like, hey, Christian Watson, you're going to play corner now. What are you talking about? Like, that would be wild.
Corner, though. That'd be
I mean,
so
it would be
cool.
fun. Let him go up there and press. Let him play some press man at 6'4", 210.
Yeah. Who's pushing him over?
Right. That's good.
It's frustrating that can't be the case. Like, you got to dance with the girl that brung you. And in Matt LaFleur's case, you made a decision to have Bo Melton be a certain type of player in a certain position. So go let him do that. And the guy who played receiver all week in practice, let that guy be the receiver on Sundays. Like, it boggles my mind.
Do you think he got, like, late into the week when they said, hey, you got to be the receiver because we're going to be really light at receiver?
I think they knew early. I think they knew early Golden wasn't going to go because he didn't practice at all.
So Bo Melton probably got some reps in practice, but also, Coach, Bo Melton is a receiver by trade. He's been playing receiver since he was 10. He has to know if we got an extra offensive lineman here. Like, that's the thing. Bo Melton had to have practiced some at receiver this week, right? They probably knew Matthew Golden was not going to play. And even if they didn't, he probably got some work at receiver knowing Matthew Golden's 50-50. They put the 6 offensive lineman stuff in this week. We had not seen it really.
Did you have that put in? Because you said that last week. Did you have him put that in?
Goody is Brandon's guy, and so I talked to Adam Stenavich to make sure we got that in there. But they put that in last week. Like, they did. They put some stuff in specifically because we have not seen them run that ever. Well, not ever, but 2023 they did a little bit. So that was a play. We know they practiced. This was not like something that Matt went deep in his call sheet and he flipped the call sheet over and he's like, all right, let's do this, but then let's add X, Y. No. They put that play in this week or last week. You have to have the details down of if it's in the game plan, you got to know. And you're a receiver that's been playing receiver for 15 years. You got to just know you can't be on the line of scrimmage there.
Yeah, it was bad. And even like the last play of the game too, where there's Z covering up the tight. That was just. And the other thing is they're very what they used to say is like, we just need a blade of grass. That's all we need, right? But it was so flagrant they had to call it.
I wonder too, Coach, and I actually asked Dominique Daphne not to shamelessly plug the Friday show again.
But make sure you tune in and listen on Friday.
Please. I asked him, I said, is there any reason why this team could not go to some more tempo stuff? Because we saw them, we talked about this on our post game. Like the 2 times they did it, and I know it's end of half, so it's a little bit different, but like when they went tempo in the fourth quarter, I think there was still 6 minutes left in the game. It's not like they were playing prevent.
Right.
Like, and so I'm wondering why that's not more of what they want to do. And is it just like, I think your explanation to me was, if we're going to be an 11 team, why would we get into the goal line and get into goal line? If we're going to be a shotgun run team, why would we get to the goal line and get under center? You play to your identity. Maybe you didn't say that, but I heard someone say that this week. I just feel like when you need a spark, let's go tempo. Let's go do something. Aaron Rodgers had his own playbook for the 2-minute. And Dominic Daffney was telling me, like, you had to know, like, Matt LaFleur is not calling those plays. Aaron Rodgers is, and there were different plays, and you got to know them, and there's hand signals, and you got to know them. I just feel like this team, sometimes you need a jolt, and we see other teams do it. The Lions do it to great effect. The Eagles do it to great effect. When teams do it to the Packers, when someone does it to the Packers, aren't you like, oh no, here it comes? Like, do the thing you don't want, like, the defense doesn't want you to do.
The thing that's kind of, and I hear it a lot on the broadcast, is all of this can crap.
Yeah.
I mean, call play and just run the damn thing. And you can't can things when you're in up tempo. You can't. And I get it. Let's be in the best possible play, but sometimes you're not, and just go play football instead of changing everything every snap.
The canned crap. I love it from Coach. Our Locked On Packers midweek squad show. It's only an hour long, but believe it or not, there's some things that we miss, or there's something we just want to make an extra point on. You get our extra points and our final score predictions for Sunday against the Giants coming up right after this. Today's Locked On Packers midweek edition of our squad show is brought to you by our friends over at Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Right now, you need new parts fast for a project. Supply House has next day delivery. Talk about a total game changer. Right now, join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 and you get 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. The hour for the Locked On Packers midweek edition of the squad show always flies by so fast. There's so much things to get to, especially when you lose back-to-back home games, and especially when you haven't scored over 14 points in back-to-back games. There's always so much to get to, but we call this our extra points, something we want to touch base on, something we forgot, or something we want to add to, and as well get to our final score predictions. I'm going to lead us off today, guys, because there's been a lot of negativity, and not necessarily on this show, but amongst Packer fans in general after those losses. You lose to Carolina, and then you lose to the Eagles, and the biggest reason you were in both of those games was the defense. And I want to talk and just shed some light on this Packers defense and talk about how special it has been. Jeff Hafley, you guys, if you're everydayers, you know at the beginning of the year, one of my bold predictions that he might be a head coach or will be a head coach this year, to enjoy this last year potentially with Jeff Hafley. But they're 7th in points per game allowed. They're 5th in yards per game allowed. They're 1st with pass yards per attempt. Like, this is such a special defense. Obviously, adding Micah Parsons, who led the team in pressures last week. I know it's not going to, wow anybody on the stat sheet. Rashawn Gary, 7th in the NFL in sacks. Like, this defense, I feel like, is just starting to come together for this Packers team. I think as the weeks go on, they're only going to get better. The competition is going to get stiffer. It's going to get tougher, but I think that's going to enhance this Packers defense. And again, 3 losses, and they've allowed 16 or fewer points. The only team to do that in the last 20 years, as Peter had mentioned, the 2000 Ravens. Like, this is a very, very special defense. This is a Super Bowl caliber defense. We haven't uttered those 3 words together in quite some time. We usually say the offense, it's the defense causing the problems, the headaches, the defense giving us the relief. But I just wanted to make sure, we didn't go this whole show without mentioning how special this defense is and how good they are playing. And it's been tremendous to see. Oh, outside of that Dallas game where Peter mentioned Dak Prescott went up and saw God, like outside of that, they have been lights out every single week, and they still haven't gotten the turnovers that they want. I know they forced one on Jalen Hurts, who, by the way, was the least turnover-prone quarterback in the NFL going into that week. So the Packers defense, once again, although it's a loss, although there's a lot of people calling for Matt LaFleur, Coach, I'll toss it to you. This defense, man, is just special. I just wanted to make sure that we made note of that on tonight's program.
We talked about that when they got Parsons, how he elevates everybody around him. He just makes everybody better. And, great players, that's what they do. They just make everybody better around them.
You're so right to call that out. And I'm glad we got that, because this defense is, I wrote about that today for The Leap. This defense is going to keep this offense afloat while the offense figures it out. Those turnovers are coming. Jameis Winston is going to throw you 3 or 4. You just got to catch them, right? Like Charles Woodson, what did he say? If you catch the ones they throw to you, you're going to be an all-pro. Someone's going to go all-pro on Sunday at MetLife, I think. I want to point out, whether it's good or bad, Matt LaFleur said they're sticking with Brandon McManus. And McManus said,
I was going to bring that up.
This was the first time.
I had it in my notes too, and we couldn't get to it.
First time that he said he's starting to feel healthy, which brings up all sorts of questions about why he was the kicker when he wasn't feeling healthy, and why Lucas Haversack is still on the roster if they still believe this much in Brandon McManus. I don't understand it, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. The best outcome for the Packers is that Brandon McManus gets healthy and starts making kicks, because you don't want this to hang over the team. You don't want it to affect a playoff game or a big game. You don't want it to affect a game in Minnesota, in Chicago, in Detroit. So let's hope he gets healthy, and this is not a decision that comes back to haunt them.
Round the table for our final score predictions. I'll lead us off. None of us were right last week. Actually, I think we all took the Packers. I definitely took. I said a 2-score win for the Packers. That obviously did not come to fruition. But I think this week, I'm going to continue to say I think they get right. I think they figure things out. I think it's a 31-21 type of game. I think that the Packers get ahead in this one early. The Giants have to play catch up. I think the Packers, Peter, I mentioned it, force a couple of turnovers. I think Josh Jacobs gets going, and I think everybody breathes a sigh of relief after this week, after the Packers get back into the win column and then have the divisional games lined up on the schedule at the end of November and into December. 31-21, Packers win. Coach, your final score prediction for week 11.
I don't think they'll score that many points on Packers defense. I'm going to go 28-7. 28-7.
So this is the kind of game that, to me, I think has like late cover potential, if we want to bring in our friends at FanDuel here.
I haven't even looked. What is it right now?
It was 7.5 when I last looked. While I talk, if you want to double check me here.
Yep, go for it.
But I think this is a game where the Packers are comfortably leading, never fully put this team away, but are up, 10-14 most of the game. The Giants get a late score just to be annoying, kind of like the Bengals game. That feels like this is what we're going to get. It's going to be a game where the Packers play well enough to win. They're going to win. But you look at the final score and you go, that's really the final score. Like that was how this went down. We saw that defense. Like
7's the number right now.
Okay. So it was 7.5. So that's come down a tick. Now I believe when I saw it opened before Monday night. So maybe that half point affected, the Monday night game affected that. But yeah, I think like 24-14, 24-17, something like that makes a lot of sense. But look, this Packers team should score 30 on this defense.
Yeah, and I think they will, and they need it, right? Giants not a good team. Sure Packers need a win. They're a desperate team. I think it's a must win, and we'll see if they can get it done. Friendly reminder of the Locked On Packers Squad Show and Daily Show with our guy Peter there. Free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts, as well as over on YouTube. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. For Peter, for Coach Jags, and for myself, we will sign off for now. Remember, Peter's got you covered for the rest of the week leading up until that Sunday game against the Giants. And make sure you tune in on Friday as well to check out that interview. And then he'll have you covered after the final whistle on Sunday after the Packers and Giants. And then when Peter's done, he jumps on with me and Coach Jags, and he got us for an extra 60 minutes, 90 minutes of Packers post-game talk right here on Locked On Packers. Thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in. Thank you for making Locked On Packers part of your day each and every single day. And also, thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And as always, stay locked on Packers.